Welcome back.
Look who's in the studio.
Bro, we should be telling you welcome back.
Who's in the studio? Jason's in the studio. He's back. Welcome back to Rollin out here on WPGU 1071 and UPTV.
Ryan got the intro right.
Whoops.
We had trouble with that last week, so glad to have you back.
It might have said PG double. I don't know.
I
what
said
you
letters.
Said. You said.
I said letters and numbers.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I'm back. Ryan Wilson here. James Boyd, still here.
Still here.
Will Gerard, you're on camera again.
Producer man Will Gerard on camera.
Oh my.
Big deal.
Man, the ratings are skyrocketing with you on the screen.
Oh, thank you.
I guess. I can't even see you. But anyways, we have a lot of stuff going on today. We have wheelchair basketball updates, like real updates. We have just been on the phone with people. I just spoke with Emily Oberst. Will got off the phone with Spencer Heslop of the men's team not too long ago. So we have some recent updates. And then last week, I know we had Stretch Ledford on the show talking about me. I guess that is a replacement for me. Just have somebody else talk about me.
Not just you. He talked about your project as well.
Oh, okay. So we're going to correct some things Stretch said about me.
When did Ryan become a teacher? It's like a little role reversal here.
I don't know. It was something Stretch planted in my brain, I guess. So we're going to talk about the project, I guess, since I'm back after last week's fun surgery I had. Got a, I guess, 8-inch rod type thing removed from my leg.
Yes, and according to you, that's not large.
Super gnarly.
We're talking 8 inches here. It's like, yeah, it's, not that big. Not that big.
I'm not gonna lie. When he sent us a picture of the rod, I cringed, like, just a little bit.
It's very thin, though.
Ryan's just like, he just got Wolverineized or something.
Yeah, maybe I did. And then we have, going off of our conversation about the project on Trust, Seeing with Trust, we're going to play an interview we did with Madison Bauman. I met her in Winter Park, Colorado, and she's an amazing person. She's going to give us all an introduction to para-alpine skiing and what that's like being visually impaired. Not something I would like to do, let alone do at all. I did not ski in Winter Park. But anyways, in terms of the men's wheelchair basketball team, they have a tournament right now going on in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Edinburgh hosted the national championship a couple years ago, I believe 2 years ago. And so the men played a couple games today. They have 3 games. They played Edinburgh at 12 Eastern Time, Whitewater at 2, always a big deal. And then they played Cleveland at 6. Cleveland sounds weird, but it's actually the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not joking. So they are a real team. They are affiliated with the Cleveland Cavaliers of the NBA. And so on the team is a guy named Will Walker. He is an alum of the University of Illinois. They also had, a couple years ago, Patrick Tomic. Patrick is also an alum here. He played on the Cavs last semester. Obviously, he's not a student anymore, but he played with them for a little bit. And it's very interesting to see Illinois playing Cleveland in Pennsylvania, because they never play Cleveland. But tomorrow, they play again at noon against Edinburgh. So they have Edinburgh twice. And we had a good conversation with Spencer, and I believe we're going to jump to that. It's a few minutes long. He gives us a good update of what to expect tomorrow and what kind of went down today.
Yeah, before I play this, though, I'd like to preface it by saying that I apologize if there's a lack of professionalism in terms of the interview. I just got a phone call from him. It kind of winged it a little bit, but it was a great conversation. He definitely filled me in about how the team's doing.
And I know, just to clarify one thing, I believe in the interview we said that the show started at 6 p.m. Or ended at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Well, if we did, we're an hour late. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, listeners. But the show actually starts at 6 p.m. Central Time, and we end at 7 p.m. Central Time and end at 8 p.m. Eastern
I'm confused.
Time. Whatever. Here's the interview.
All right, so little technical difficulties here. Ryan's coming back in here. He was going to grab a sandwich from across, the newsroom.
I'm hungry.
Well, since it is implying, what did you talk to Spencer about, and did you talk to him about how heavy or how crazy that schedule is?
I did, yeah. We addressed it a little bit pretty early in the interview, actually. He kind of explained to me that, they're accustomed to that sort of schedule because with wheelchair basketball, it's kind of the nature of their tournaments and pool play where they'll just play multiple games over the course of the day, and everyone's kind of in the same boat when it comes to, the fatigue that comes with that. That's
a lot of games. I remember my days doing that with AAU, and I stay up too late and eat a bunch of chips in between games and not do what I was supposed to do. So hopefully, since they're collegiate athletes, they're doing a lot better than what I used to do.
Yeah, so usually with the wheelchair basketball teams, they have several games in one day, and then they do the same thing over again the next day. So there was one tournament I've been to, they had 8 games in 2 days. That's ridiculous. But sometimes they have pool play one day, and then the actual tournament the next. And the tournament can be a double elimination tournament, so they keep playing.
Double elimination is good and bad. It's like when you're the team that loses, it's like, all right, I can see you again. But if you're the team that wins, you're like, dang, I just beat this team. Why I got to play him again? So
yeah,
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, but I think the reality is with wheelchair basketball in the collegiate division, they don't have too many teams. They don't have 64 teams or 32. I think they probably have only a couple D1 teams. So that's why Illinois plays a team like Whitewater. They're D3.
Yeah, I was going to say, we hear Whitewater so often. I feel like we have to just go there.
Right.
And live the dream or something. Cause
there is Alabama, and that's about it.
But yeah, producer man Will here. We're actually ready to go with the audio. I apologize for those technical difficulties. We'll sort those out over the course of the semester here, but let's get back to that interview with Spencer.
All right, Spencer, welcome to Rolling Illini here. My first question for you is, what have you been up to today? I know you guys have been pretty busy lately.
Yeah, so right now we are in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania for a tournament. So we played 2 games thus far today, and we have a game this evening. So right now we're just kind of waiting in between games and watching one. So,
how did those first 2 games go?
The first one was a good game. It was a really close game throughout, but we did come away with the win. I think it was 44-41 or something like that. So we got that first win. The second game, I think we saw a lot of good things. We didn't win that game. I'm not positive on the score on that one.
Gotcha. Are there any adjustments you'd like to see made then moving forward here? I know what was what held you guys back in the past game?
I think in the past, the specific team we played against, we kind of played flustered. I think we did a good job on the offensive end of staying composed and in control and taking advantage of the different reads that we've got. I think our biggest thing that we're working on is our help defense across the court and being able to just communicate it so it's a little bit quicker. I think that's probably our biggest thing to work on right now.
Gotcha. It's actually been a couple of weeks since I talked to anyone on the team. Can you tell me about your previous tournament as well?
Let's see. You have to think here.
Did you guys compete last weekend or maybe 2 weekends?
Yeah. We were in Wichita. so that was our first tournament back after a break, and honestly, it was a little bit rough. I think shaking off some dust, but I think we saw a lot of good things. We saw some growing pains though as well, just with our young team and stuff. But I think we're starting to find our niche and where we're successful and where we can put each player on the team in a place where they'll be most successful.
Gotcha. Were you able to get in the gym much over winter break?
Yeah, I mean, the way this break worked, it was super short by the time we finished finals and then came back. But that was something that I tried to do, get out to the lifting gym, and then I went to a practice that on the team that I used to play on when I was in high school. So definitely tried to get in as much as I could.
What was it like, getting back in the gym with those guys? I mean, do you see some familiar faces from when you were in high school, or was it kind of like you were taking on more of like a coaching role?
I think it was a lot of just because like I knew all of the guys and I've played with them before, but back in high school, I was young, honestly didn't know a whole lot, and so it was cool to be able to see how much I had learned and really just be able to associate with them again.
Gotcha. One kind of general question I have for you is, I know with these tournaments, you guys play a lot of games over the course of a single day, like you already talked about here.
Right.
Could you tell me, does that kind of take like a wear and tear on your body? I mean, how do you guys kind of like prepare for each game, so you can bring like the most energy that you can?
Yeah, that's a good question. So today actually we played 2 back-to-back games. And so I think, I think it's really something that you get accustomed to a little bit, because that's pretty much what every tournament's like. But really, we do the very best that we can to, one, make sure that we start off with a good night's rest, and then in between games, we really don't do a whole lot. We just rest, and I mean, obviously, because we're student athletes, we have homework. So I mean, we have guys who sit on the side doing homework and stuff like that. But really, just taking advantage of the time that we do get to rest to actually do that instead of like not staying up late, things like that.
Yeah. How was the travel out to get? You said you're in Pennsylvania, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So, who did you guys have? Was Butchie driving the van, or how did those road trips look? What those road trips look like?
Yeah, so we ride with Peoria Charter, and so we get a charter bus that if it's the guys, we have the full bus, but even the ladies, we all travel together to some tournaments, so we're all on the Peoria Charter bus. So we pack all of our chairs, both ball chairs and day chairs, underneath the bus and load everybody up on top. So
it sounds like there's a bit of commotion around. You can kind of describe the scene for me of what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so the University of Wisconsin Whitewater and University of Edinburgh are playing right now. So.
Gotcha. Are you so where are you sitting?
I am sitting courtside, a little ways away, but courtside right now.
How's that game going right now?
It just started, and Whitewater is up 4-2.
What do you know about Whitewater? I'm aware that's one team you guys seem to play against quite frequently.
Yeah, so if there's any team that I would say are our rivals, it would be Whitewater, and that's kind of been something that's been existent for about as long as I'm aware of. So back from my freshman year to now, those are kind of the games that we get hyped up for, and I think that will be our senior night game when we come back and play in Champaign. So,
how would you describe their style of play?
That's a good question. Honestly, they have some really good shooters outside, and so they try to utilize that at the beginning of the game to establish kind of a foundation. But they really want to get their big guys in the key, and so they do a lot of just cutting and sealing and things like that to try to get their big guys inside.
How do you attempt to counter a team like that, where they're shooting the ball and trying to cut, get big guys inside? I mean, I've kind of described to me that you guys do the excuse me if I use the wrong term here, but it's like the tea, like tea kettle, or what's it called? The defense you guys do around the outside?
Teacup?
Teacup, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So obviously initially we want to be able to try to push them out as wide as possible, so they're not taking like 12 to 15 footers, they're taking 17 footers. So that's our initial, against any team, that's our initial philosophy on defense. And after that, we've identified previously like who we want to be shooting the ball, and once we've identified that, we do the very best we can to jump or get out on the shooters before they even get the ball, so they don't even feel comfortable passing it to them. And then after that, our help defense is shadowing to make sure the big guys don't get in the key, and then yeah.
Do teams like Whitewater play a similar style of defense, or do they kind of bring a different look out there?
They have a pretty similar look to several teams like Alabama and UTA. They have a very similar play. Ours is a little bit different because we're not the tallest team in the world, but I think each team utilizes a different style of play to effectively use their particular set of players.
Who played well in the first two games today for you guys?
I think the first game I felt like I don't know if we had like one person who was super hot, because each person played a huge part in the win, both offensively and defensively. So it was wherever the ball was, they were making smart decisions with it. So.
Gotcha. Just to cover our bases here, I'm not sure if I asked specifically, but do you know what time? Because you said you have two more games left today, right?
We have one today.
One more.
Tomorrow.
So do you know what time those games are?
The one tonight is 6 p.m. Eastern time.
All right, so that'll be starting right around the time our show concludes. And then, do you know about what are you doing? What time are you playing Saturday?
Our game's at noon Eastern time.
Gotcha.
Tomorrow.
How does the bracket look for that tournament then? Like, or is it like pool play, or like is that kind of been well established?
So all the tournaments up until nationals will just be pool play. So there's not really a bracket. Kind of the games that we have right now are determining our seeding for nationals, and at that point, that's when there will be a bracket, and you play up until pretty much you play till you lose. So.
What message has like Butchie kind of been trying to or not like message per se, but what's been like the focus of this tournament? Like, what's the coaching staff really trying to kind of get across to you guys? Is there some sort of like rallying cry, or is there anything you guys really want to focus on as a team?
Right now, I think several of the things were what I mentioned a little bit on the defensive side of the things. Being really aggressive with getting chair contact to control their chair, not let them be comfortable with where they're at. And one of the things that we've talked a lot about in helping with that is utilizing all of the dead time that we have to get position. So if there's a ball that goes out of bounds, a foul, or things like that, is using those moments to get the defensive position we want, offensive position, things like that, where other teams don't necessarily utilize that.
I've yet to talk to anyone from the women's team. Have you heard any updates about how they're doing this weekend?
Yeah, so right now they are in Arizona. They flew to Arizona for the first time yesterday. I do know that they got done playing the women's team from Wisconsin, Whitewater, a little earlier, and they won that game. And I know that they're playing the University of Alabama a little bit later today.
Would you say that you guys are pretty close? Like, are you pretty close in contact with them when it comes to when you guys aren't playing at the same location or anything? I mean, do you kind of follow their results closely?
Yeah. I think one of the things that I love about our program is we are close with the women, just as because we practice at the same time in the gym, and so all of them are good friends with us as well, and So we talked back and forth of how things went.
So you've just been getting updates from like other players then?
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
very cool. Is there anything else I should know in particular about this tournament? Have you guys seen anything? Did you see anything cool on your trip out here or out to Pennsylvania? Or I mean, can you kind of like tell me about like where you're staying right now, maybe?
Yeah, so Edinburgh is a pretty small little town. There's honestly not a whole lot outside of the university, so there's not much as far as that goes. But I mean, the drive itself is nice. It's decently cold. There's snow on the ground, so we left Champaign where there was no snow and came to snow. So
How does the gym look?
So they have one big main gym, which is where their Illini team plays as well. And so there's half of the gym where all the teams are storing their chairs. Then you have the game court, and then you have bleachers that descend down where all the fans are sitting. So
Pretty big turnout from fans in the local area?
yeah, they have a decent, and we got a couple of the parents on the guys on the team are here supporting us as well too. So it's been great.
Outside of like obviously your guys' like social media and stuff, is there anywhere else where like fans could kind of follow your like results, keep up to date with that?
Honestly, I mean, if they don't have personal contact with the guy from the team, our Facebook page is probably the best resource for that.
I actually don't know this. I'm kind of curious. Who runs that Facebook page?
So typically that is the coaches or one of the team managers will post. There's a couple of them who do that.
And don't you guys like occasionally stream games too?
Yeah, we do. And so we'll stream our home tournament. We are not streaming this one, but every now and then we will.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, one thing like you talked about is how like everyone's kind of like a student. How do you balance playing a bunch of games while also like keeping up with your classwork when it comes to like a weekend tournament like this one?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the things that we really stress at the beginning of the semester is to establish a relationship with the professor so that they know who you are and they know that you're on the team, and so you can communicate with them like when you're going to be gone, and that way they are going to be reasonable as you try to stay up to date. And so we make sure that we get the missing assignments or lectures previous, and use the time at the hotel or on the bus to get that homework done, because that's one of the things that U of I really focuses on is you're a student first, because that's you're building the rest of your life on, and so it's important for us that each person is staying caught up and is being successful in the classroom, and on the court.
What are you studying right now?
I'm an integrated biology major.
Wow, that sounds kind of difficult.
It's fun. I've enjoyed it.
What do you enjoy about your major?
Honestly, just the way that you can use biology to better the human condition, really, from disease and things like that.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to me. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of have to run here soon to catch up with Ryan for another interview. But do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share about the tournament or kind of like your team in general?
Honestly, I'm just really proud of the guys. Obviously we have a young team. We graduated 7 seniors this past year, and we have 5 freshmen. And so honestly, I'm just really proud of the growth that we've seen from the beginning of the season to now. I couldn't be happier.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
you.
It was a great conversation. Looking forward to seeing you more in the future. Good luck this weekend.
For sure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome back to Rollin Line here. WPGU
Such an aggressive
107.
bringing us back to air. Will, are you okay?
No, I just had to make sure we were all on the same page.
Okay.
I think we're all on the same page. That was a fun interview. Whoops, get rid of that. With Spencer about we do weird things on this show that only make TV, unfortunately. Where was I? No, we were talking about men's witch basketball. We're going to take a quick break here. after that segment, and we'll be right back with some women's wheelchair basketball update. We had a chance to talk with Emily Oberst, just like that, and then we'll jump to Maddie Bauman. Welcome back to Rollin here in WPGU 107.1 UPTV. You missed Will Gerard air drumming, the biggest thing of the night. Will was putting on a show for us.
Or you could call it air drumming, I guess. Yeah. It's more just me like waving my hands like a crazy person.
Okay, well I kind of do that too sometimes. So anyway,
just gotta draw your attention every single time I bring you guys back on air now.
So I had a chance to talk with Emily Oberst of the women's wheelchair basketball team. She gave us an update from Tucson, Arizona. So the men went to Edinburgh, Pennsylvania. Women went to Arizona. An interesting schedule for them, but the women's team went 1-2 today. They beat Whitewater at 9 p.m. their time, and they played Alabama at 1. And they played UTA, Texas, Arlington. A correction, they went 1-2 today, not good. But they did beat Whitewater, played Whitewater first, Alabama, and then the University of Texas, Arlington. UTA, pretty big school. They have 2 Paralympians, Abby Duncan and Rose Hollerman. Hollerman is really tall and can move the court. So she knows what she's doing. She can shoot. She was on the Team USA team in Rio, won a gold medal, just like Abby. They're hard to beat. But tomorrow the women will play the Seattle Storm at 1, and then Arizona at 7.
I wonder if the team has any affiliation with the Seattle Storm of the WNBA. So
I would think so. I guess we'll find out.
like that Cavs.
It seems like it's a reoccurring
earlier.
trend with a lot of
Yes.
these wheelchair basketball teams.
Yeah, but one thing Emily did talk about was kind of the team is still trying to develop. They're a young team. They're primarily filled with underclassmen, mostly freshmen and sophomores. So they're still trying to build their chemistry. She called it kind of mesh, the team meshing. So they're working on that. And I asked for kind of a specific expectation Coach Stephanie Wheeler has of the team tomorrow. And Emily just said she wants us to essentially do the best we can and play. And so I feel like Steph is aware that the team has some room to grow. I mean, obviously, I think their record shows they do have some room to grow. But I will say, from my perspective, I think they've made some progress from last season, which is good because it really helps to make progress. And they're getting better. I think in, say, 2 years, we could have a fairly decent women's wheelchair basketball team. And then you never know who's coming in as a recruit. Somebody is racing outside, and we're missing it. Anyways, so I obviously missed last week for a surgery. 2 weeks before that, I was in Winter Park, Colorado, just to segue to stroking my ego a little bit.
I love the word segue.
So I was out in Winter Park, Colorado, reporting on the trust between visually impaired skiers and their guides. Stretch talked about that last week on the show. So we interviewed 8 people in 3 days. That's 4 pairs total. Interviewed Madison Bauman, we'll hear her in a second. Larry Martin and his guide Brad Washburn. Brad's a Paralympian. Randy Wynn, Senior, Nick Manley, and a couple other people. Very fun. We had a few tech assistants with us. We had a really good team. Do miss the trip? I think the one important lesson we took away from that was kind of the power of trust and how it really shapes who we are. So we talked with these Swiss skiers. The skier's name is Thibaut, and his guide is Mono. Yes, just like that. So Tebow, he can't see at all. He had cancer in his eyes, and it took out his vision. So he has prosthetic eyes. So he was saying how in Switzerland he is mistreated, and people walk into him and are talking about him, but obviously he can't see them on the streets.
Wow.
He has no idea where he's at. We had to lead him everywhere we were going, which is fine. Just kind of gives us a heads up, like we gotta watch what we put out on the sidewalk. Don't wanna put a stupid wheelbarrow in the middle of the sidewalk. I may have seen that in Winter Park, and people who are visually impaired will walk into it. So Tebow's guide Mono treats Tebow differently. Tebow said in the interview, she does not look at me as an athlete or somebody who's visually impaired. She looks at me as a person. And that kind of gave you chills. And then Mono said the same thing. She's like, I look at him as a human being. And she looked at me and she's like, I don't see your wheelchair. I see a person. I see a human being. And you're talking with me. I don't see anything else. There are no limitations. So I really was kind of taken back by that. And I think just to sum everything up before the segment, it kind of just shows the power of trust and how it shapes who you are. I think the reality is if you grow up in a rough household, you may not trust people as easily. Like if you grow up in an abusive household, you might have problems trusting people. And I think everything we learned really resonated with the group. One of our tech assistants said the trip changed her life. And I truly believe that. I think it really did change her life, and probably changed mine, because I'm looking at jobs out there. And I want to stay with these guys. So it was a really good experience, very thankful. I do want to correct some things Stretch said, though.
Put him on blast real quick.
Yeah,
Right.
Stretch.
Someone grab the red pen.
Where's the journalistic integrity?
I have a black one. So did he sit right here?
He sat right there
Oh,
in that very seat.
come on. In this seat? In my seat?
In that very seat.
In my wheelchair?
in that spot,
Oh.
per se.
I was going to say, I don't think I was in my chair last Friday. No, I wasn't. Not at this time.
So you don't know. I'm telling you. Stretch Ledford, over 6 feet.
I mean, at the end of the semester, James sat in your chair. So I guess
That's
Stretch
true.
could probably sit in it as well.
Right. It is not impossible.
That is true. But anyway, Stretch said that we had a 16-passenger van. If we did, wow, that was an incredibly small 16-passenger van. It's actually a seven-passenger van. So a soccer mom van, minivan. That thing was packed full. I think that's all the lies she said about me.
That wasn't even about you directly.
Right. Oh, God forbid. We ride somewhere with Ryan and we call the car a Toyota instead of a Honda. Good God. Might get called a liar.
And then he talked about the anecdote of me bolting out of the van. That really did happen, not because of the subway sign. That was actually unrelated, just kind of funny in the picture. So I bolted out onto this concrete platform in this parking lot, and I had a good view of the mountains. So I raced up there before we went into the I-70 diner in Topeka, Kansas, or somewhere in Kansas, to try to do a panoramic shot. I was turning around. Phone died. So that was kind of a waste.
So you lost the beautiful landscape?
I didn't get anything. But
That's all right.
they
That
got
was
pictures of me.
Mother Nature telling you to put your phone down and just enjoy life.
Yeah, but I think the trip was very impactful for all of us. We learned, I don't do journalism to learn about somebody else. I mean, I love it. I also do journalism to learn about me. So we're going to jump into the Madison Bauman interview. Welcome back to Rollin here at WPGU 1071 and UPTV. We're now in a fancy conference room. We have a whiteboard behind us. So legit. But we are now joined by visually impaired skier Madison Bauman. Madison, how
Hello.
are you? Thank you for joining us. So, here in Champaign and Urbana, we don't have too many para-alpine skiers. In fact, we don't have any connected with the university, but we do have wheelchair basketball, wheelchair track, and I think that's about it. But, so can you kind of give us the backstory of how you became interested in para-alpine skiing and what brought you to that?
Yeah, so I'm 24 years old now. I started skiing when I was about 2, and it was my whole life. And I mean, every winter I was out on the mountain, and I raced when I was 10, 11 years old, and then the summer when I was 11, I was involved in a pretty serious motor vehicle accident, which caused me to lose the vision in my left eye and part of it in my right eye. And so at that point, it was, sports were kind of over for me, and I wasn't really allowed to do much. But skiing was something that, like I said, it was part of my life. It was something I'd done forever. And so it was just kind of a matter of time until I was able to convince my mom to let me start skiing again. And I believe it was the winter when I was 13, we found out about the adaptive ski program up in Whistler, and I was able to, my mom went out, kind of tested them out for a day, and then decided that it was something that she trusted them to take me out skiing, and so I started skiing again as a visually impaired skier when I was 13, and I started working my way up and, getting stronger and more confident in my skiing until I moved down to Salt Lake City in Utah, and I found out about the National Ability Center up in Oak City. And the National Ability Center has an alpine race team, and when I found that out, I kind of thought, well, I kind of figured out this whole visually impaired skiing thing, and it would be fun to get back out on the hill and start skiing again. And so about a year ago, I contacted the coach, and I tried out, made it onto the team, and started training for this season.
Sweet, that's awesome. So you talked about kind of revisiting skiing after accidents. What made your mom want to trust the coaches or officials you were working with to take care of you and make sure you skied down the hill safely?
I think it was just kind of, because I was, I was her little girl, and she wanted to keep me safe, and she wanted to know that the people that were taking me down the mountain had that same feeling that they wanted to keep me safe, and so for her it was, going out and seeing how they interacted with the participants and what they did if somebody fell or if the skier got too close or kind of whatever the condition was, and how they handled the situation. And she went up with them, and she saw how much they cared and how concerned they were for all of their participants, and she decided that it was something that she knew I really wanted to get back into, and that she could trust them.
Hey Maddie, this is Will here. One question I have for you is, how was that initial, adjustment to skiing? I mean, once you were visually impaired, can you kind of tell me about how you got comfortable being out on the slopes?
Yeah, so I think that I've thought about that a lot because quite a few people have asked me that, and I think a big part of it was I knew how to ski before I lost my vision. I knew the fundamentals of skiing and how to make turns and how to stop and what to do if I was about to hit somebody or someone was about to hit me. And so then taking your eyes away, it kind of gives it a whole different feeling, because instead of seeing that person you're about to hit or the bowl you're about to go over or the rock you're about to ski into, you kind of have to feel it. And so it's more of, it was kind of, for me, it was learning really how to ski with my feet versus my eyes. And so it was definitely interesting, and skiing is something even though I'd taken 2 years off from being on the slopes, it's something you never really forget how to do. And so it was, it's still something that I am kind of working on learning to ski with my feet versus my eyes. Um, but a big part of it was just kind of feeling the movements more than seeing them.
You mentioned skiing with your feet, but is there any way that you kind of try to like envision the hill, or is there some way like you plan for each slope that you like go on?
Well, for me, it's a little different because when I have partial vision in my right eye, but I don't have any depth perception, and so when I'm looking at the hill, like I can see that it goes down, and that like I can kind of see where the flat parts are. But when as I'm going, if there's a roller in the hill, or if there are bumps or moguls or chattery snow, I can't really see that, and so I kind of just have to have I have to have loose ankles and a loose upper body, so that way when I do hit those spots on the hill, I'm ready for it, and I can kind of adapt towards whatever conditions are underneath me.
Okay, so just for our audience, would you mind kind of describing, I know we had talked about this in Winter Park, but could you kind of describe for our audience over here in Illinois what you see when you are at the top of the hill and when you're going down the slope there?
Yeah, so when I'm looking straight down the hill, I have no peripheral vision on my right hand side, and so I can't see anything to the right of the hill, and I have some vision to the left side of me, but when I'm skiing, it's pretty much just a straight shot down, and so it's not complete tunnel vision, but I have a pretty limited window of what I can see in front of me. And so I ski with a guy who wears a bright orange fin, and we have Bluetooth headsets between us, so we can kind of communicate and say, hey, you're losing me, or I need you to go faster, or for me to talk to my guide in that sense, or for my guide to say to me, like, I see up here, or there are moguls, or there are bumps, or right, left. Kind of, she helps me really get down the hill.
Sure, and okay, so could you tell us about kind of the process of finding a guide and building and maintaining the trust with them?
Yeah. So my guide's name is Hillary, and she was an instructor with the National Ability Center last season, and I was, it was the first time I'd ever been racing, and so I didn't really know much about, what the rules and regulations on finding a guide was for ski racing, and so I asked around up at the Ability Center, and they gave me a few names of recommendations, and one of them they recommended was Hillary, and a big part of it is you want to ski with somebody who's, very similar in size to you, and kind of has the same ski style as the racer, and so Hillary is an inch taller than me and has been racing since she was about 5 and skiing since she was 2. And so for both, so she was someone that I knew she knew what she was doing on a race hill, and she knew how to get down the mountain and how to get other people down the mountain safely. And so I, contacted her and I asked her if she'd be willing to come out and have a trial run with me, and then, we kind of became good friends, and she just, I asked her, will you be my guide? And she said, sure, I'd love to. So, so that was kind of the start to it, and that was the end of last season when I found her, and we had a training camp in the summer out at Mount Hood, and she came out with me, and that was really when we really started training together and kind of building our trust with each other, and her knowing how I skied and me seeing how she skied, and just kind of knowing that, she knows where my max speed is, and so she can adjust her skiing towards that.
How would you describe your relationship with Hillary?
Hillary and we're pretty close. We definitely laugh a lot while we're up on the hill, and life for me has been kind of crazy the last little bit, because I haven't really had a chance to. She lives up in Park City, and I live down in Salt Lake City, and so we're about 40 minutes apart. So I haven't really had a chance to be able to hang out with her much off the hill. But when we're on the hill, we definitely get along really, really well. We know what to say to make each other laugh, and
Sure. So we talked about Hillary. I had the pleasure of meeting Hillary in Winter Park. Great person. But I think here in Champaign, it might be hard for kind of our audience to think about the relationship between the guide and the skier, the visually impaired skier. So what is that dynamic like between you two off the snow and when you're not practicing and competing?
You know, so, like I say, I mean, we haven't had much time to hang out in the last little bit, but for us, it's kind of, Hillary is, she's researching the mountains that we're going to be at and what kind of conditions they have, and so that way that she knows when we get there, like, hey, the snow's a lot different here, or it's very similar to where we're at, and so that way she can help, help prepare me and prep me for my next race or for my next run down the hill, and so that way she knows, which down to what kind of wax I should use on my skis the day before, and whether we're going to need, red and blue wax or just red wax or just blue wax or, just kind of to help with me and my safety and the safety of others that are on the hill.
What's your favorite type of slope, and is there one particular place where you really enjoy skiing?
I mean, I love blue runs. I like blue runs just because I know that they're flat and I'm not going to get hit with a bunch of moguls that I've got to navigate down. And growing up, I got to ski up in Whistler, Whistler Blackhawk. That definitely is probably my favorite place to ski in the whole wide world. I mean, they have terrain for people of all abilities, and the instructors up there and all of everyone that works at the mountain, they're just so nice and friendly and welcoming and willing to help.
Sure. So you talk about the different type of terrain. What type of terrain do you prefer? Do you prefer wet snow or frozen snow, or what do you like?
That's the hard thing is I love the snow here in Utah because it's drier snow and fluffier. So if we could have the snow here up in Whistler, that would be incredible. Wet snow is fun, but it's definitely can get sticky and hard every once in a while.
Sure. Okay. And then so when you're going down that fluffy snow, how fast do you think on average you can go?
Let's see, we clocked ourselves at our last race, and it was the first time I really skied on Super G skis, and I think we got up to about 38 miles an hour on the Super G hill, which, I mean, for me is that's so fast, I don't know though, if we're just free skiing, we definitely can get going pretty fast, or flying down the hill.
Sure. So when you're going that fast, what do you think your mom is thinking about?
Oh, I'm sure she's just terrified.
Mine would be too.
I know she's sitting there hoping and praying that I just make it down the hill in one piece.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, so this is your second season competing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know in Winter Park we had talked about the Paralympics, and I believe you had mentioned you're looking to try and chase the 2022 Paralympics. What do you think you need to do to reach that point of Paralympic status?
In training, just a lot of training and kind of getting my speed from 38 miles an hour to 45, 50 miles an hour going down those hills, and just kind of building more confidence on all of my skis and racing the courses.
What would it
the gates and
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
go on.
I was going to say, what would it mean to you to make it on the podium at the Paralympics?
Oh my gosh, that would be an absolute dream come true. As a kid, before the car accident, my goal was to become a professional soccer player, and if that didn't pan out for me, I wanted to become a professional skier. And so I'm no longer able to play contact sports, which took soccer out of the equation for me, and so skiing has kind of been my goal now, my dream, and so making it to Paralympics would be an definitely marked 12 things off my bucket list. But if I were able to podium there, that would be, I as well died and got to heaven at that point. So.
Oh, that's funny. I know when we were in Winter Park, we talked with a few other skiers, visually impaired skiers, and one skier, Randy Rand, brought up the idea of talking about trust and confidence and how they correlated. So, how do you think trust and confidence have kind of helped you in your 2 seasons now of skiing, like the trust in your guide, and how did that help your confidence?
I think, just in trusting that Hillary is going to get me down the hill in one piece, it definitely boosts my confidence in helping me ski faster and take more chances, because I know, like, I can say to her, all right, let's go a little bit faster on this run, or I can say to her, I'm having a hard time getting from the 6th gate to the 7th gate, so we just need to adjust a little bit, and she can say to me, all right, well, why don't you try working on this or working on that, and it definitely gives me that boost, because she knows, like, all right, well, if this is what you're having a hard time with, then why don't you tweak this, and then it'll make it a little bit easier for you. And then I go down the hill, and it was just the right thing, and so it kind of just builds that confidence in myself, and knowing, all right, if I do this, then I'm going to make it, and I'm not going to fly off course.
Sure. Okay, so I know we also spoke with a couple of Swiss skiers. One guy's name was Thibaut. Great name. I need that name. He was saying how, because he has a visual impairment, it kind of forces him to trust people and rely on people. Do you kind of feel like that's been the same way for you, and that you've had to trust people to help you out?
Definitely. I mean, anywhere from finding from reading menus at restaurants, or menu boards at places that I can't see, to making sure I'm getting off the bus at the right stop. It definitely makes you really put the trust on others to, for them to realize, like, I can't see and I need your help to help me get where I need to go or order what I want to order. And so it's just, to reading papers in school and at work.
Sure, so go ahead, Will.
I didn't get the chance to visit Winter Park, but could you kind of describe to me the community of visually impaired skiers? I mean, do you have any other close buddies who compete in the sport as well?
I mean, this is my first season competing, and so this is, I'm still meeting lots of people. The only other really female visually impaired skier that I have met who skis with us when she's in town is Stacy, and she's a really nice girl. But like I say, I'm still kind of meeting everyone, and I don't know very many people in the visually impaired circuit. But I'm hoping we have a race next week, and I'm hoping to meet a few more and make some new friends.
Sure. And are you referring to Stacy Manoa? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's chasing she's a very likely chance she'll be in Pyeongchang for the Paralympics here in a couple of months. But we only have a couple minutes here left.
Yeah.
My goodness. But where do you think you will be next week competing?
Well, so we have a Hudson Cup here in Park City, and my goal this season is just to finish each course, and if I podium, then that's icing on the cake. It'll be great. And I'm not sure how many people I'll be racing against next week, but it's nice that we've kind of got the hometown advantage on the hill. We've been training on it all week, and so I don't know. I just, like I said, the goal is just to finish and have fun.
Sure.
And enjoy it.
Sweet, that's so awesome, Maddie. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, welcome back into the studio now. Briefly, Will, from our conversation with Maddie, what did you kind of pull away?
I think the biggest takeaway for me is what she was saying about where she has to really focus on her skis when she's going down the slope, because that was kind of the biggest question for me as I'm not familiar with the sport, and I'm I'm not familiar with being like what it requires to be a visually impaired skier and what it takes to get down, the mountain. So like for me, I was like, are you like envisioning it? Do you have to like plan out your like route but like for her, I mean, she kind of explained like, I'm kind of like always like expecting some sort of, like terrain shift, or I don't know exactly what terms she used necessarily, but that really stood out to me because it was like, wow, like that's pretty cool. Like the fact that she has that much trust in her guy, but also, that she's like ready for when, these obstacles are just thrown at her on the fly as she's like, speeding down the mountain.
Yeah, trust is a magic word. Okay, so tomorrow, again, the men's wheelchair basketball team will play Edinburgh at noon Eastern Time, and then the women will play the Seattle Storm at 1 p.m. their time in Arizona, and 7 p.m. against Arizona. So we shall see how they do, and we will be back next week. Same spot, I hope.
Same seat?
No guarantee. Same mixed up? Well, maybe. All right. Well, thanks for listening. James Boyd, Will Gerard, Jason Liggett. UPTV is here, of course. And we're on WPGU 107.1. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.